Hey, my name is Willie Lawson, and welcome back to the Saxophone Factory. Glad you are here. I want to talk about scales, and I know I always talk about scales because scale practice can be super dull, incredibly boring, outrageously frustrating. So, in order to be conversant, is the term I use with your scales. You need to be able to play them in any number of orders. I know for lots of years around here in the state of Florida, the all-state audition was to play your scales 2 octaves, starting from concert G, in chromatic order. So it sounded something like. And so forth. And you had to go around until you got back in it on concert. What's that? G flat or E flat for us alto players. And now they do it around the circle of fourths. So you'd start on. I still think you start on concert E. I think. I don't remember. On concert E, and you go from concert E to concert G, I'm sorry. Concert G. And then from concert G to concert C. Kind of in that order. Now, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. As long as you are not reading the scale and you have it in your brain using the chart that you guys have already seen, doesn't matter. I don't care how you learn it. As long as you learn them and you can play them perfectly. It's one of the few things that I consider important to know perfectly, because you want to be able to have full access to that scale, especially when you start trying. Those of you who keep asking me about jazz and improvisation, when you want to start learning jazz and jazz improvisation, you don't want to be iffy on the scale. You don't want to be iffy on the chord. You want to be able to talk about it conversantly. You want to be able to say this. You want to be able to say, yeah, the dominant scales. Just starting on the fifth, and they're starting on the fifth of the major scale, and then playing it in that key. What's that mean? If you don't understand what that means, then you're not conversant yet. Let me give you an example. I'm going to play my G major scale. All right. So what's the fifth note of the G scale? Ready, go. If you didn't say D right away, you didn't think D right away, you're not conversant. So how do I play my, how do I play the 5/7 or the dominant or the Mixolydian, if you want to learn modes, of that scale? Well, I'm going to start on D, and I'm going to play in that key signature. What key signature am I playing in? I'm playing in the key of G. Get it? Or I could say that the dominant scale is the major scale with the seventh scale degree lowered a half step. And I don't mean to be talking past you or above your head. I just want you to understand how important it is to be conversant so you're flexible in these discussions, especially when we start playing jazz and start doing jazz improvisation, that no matter what terminology someone uses, you can understand what they're talking about, because jazz has got its own thing. And people who are into quote jazz theory, boy, they have their own thing. My God. It's frightening. Anyway, so I want to make sure that you guys understand that it is very, very important before you start there So make sure that you can play your major scales and be conversant in them, and play them in any way, in any order that you choose. Whether you want to play them up one, down and down the other, which is what I like to do just for fun. Don't judge. I'm going to go up G and come down A flat. Up A. Up B. Why? 'Cause it's fun. Don't judge. Folks, if you're not ready for the jazz discussion, and if you don't feel that you have all your major scales down pat, then spend some time doing them. Use a metronome. Try not to use a scale sheet. I know that sounds insane. I know. Look at me. Did you expect something else? I know that sounds insane, and I know if you're in school, your band director has given you a scale sheet, or if you've even taken private lessons, your teacher has probably given you a scale sheet. I would rather you use my chart and memorize those bits of information, because you will never have an audition for anything you audition for that requires scales that will allow you to read the scales off a piece of paper, ever. So it's important that you know that E has 4 sharps and what those sharps are, and that A flat has 4 flats and what those 4 flats are, and that and that D flat has 5 flats, and that F sharp has 6 sharps, and D flat has 6 flats. It's important that you know that. It's super important that you know that. It's important that you know that if you can play a C sharp scale, you can play a D flat scale. If you can play a G flat scale, you can play an F sharp scale. It's important that you know that in your head. And if you know it in your head, you'll get it out in your hands. There is an importance to learning scales. And I want to, spend a little bit of time with you making sure that you understand that. Now, let's play. We have only a few minutes left. Let's go ahead and play the sharp scales in the circle of fourths. So we're going to go G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp. G, D, A, E, B. Circle of fifths. I'm sorry. Fifths. Circle of fifths. G, D, A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp. All right, there you go. I was a little rugged down there on B. I apologize for that. But it's important to be able to do that. And until you can, and I included the arpeggios for a reason, because those are going to be the beginning of the chord tones. So when we're playing a minor chord, we have to know what note in the scale we're going to adjust. If we're going to play a diminished chord, what scale degree are we going to adjust? If we're playing a fully diminished chord, what scale degrees are we going to adjust? And being able to play the arpeggios gives us a leg up on that bit of knowledge. Wasn't the most fun video that I've done, but I hope it's one of the more helpful videos. And we got more coming, promise. So, until we see you again, keep playing.